Hello everybody. This lecture is about the art of data collection. I am Dr. Nurbat Shah, University of Engineering and Technology, Peshawar, Pakistan. You know that in statistics, data plays a very important role because every computation, every calculation is based on data. And it is also a very important step in statistics that how do we collect data. So initially let's talk about what is data collection. Basically, the process of gathering raw facts or informations about a specific subject of study or subject of study, subject of interest. When we do this process in a systematic way, and after collection of those information, these information can be used to answer certain questions and to discuss the outcomes. In other words, we may define it as gathering of information that describes some specific situation from which conclusion can be drawn. Okay, what are the data collection techniques? Data collection methods allow us to systematically collect information about our objects of study, which could be people, which could be objects, and about the settings in which these information occurs. Data collection tools are instruments that are used in hand with the data collection methods to collect or to retrieve data or information. To avoid confusion in the use of terms, let's talk about the following table points, which will be basically differentiating between techniques and tools applied in data collection. So, administering written questionnaires. So in this case, that's the technique. You are distributing, you are sending, you are handing over questionnaires to different respondents, and in that case the tools are questionnaires. You have to design questionnaires, and those questionnaires will then be distributed, or they will be administered to different respondent. We can collect data by using interviewing, and that interview can be done through using these tools. You have to have an interview guide. You need to have a checklist of questions, which question you would ask the respondents, the interviewers, and if you want to record those questions, the response from the respondent, you need to have a tape recorder as well. Then the third method which is used for data collection, that is obviously observations. You have to observe certain things. That observation can be done by simple sitting somewhere and observing those information, those experiments or something. You can use pen, paper as well. You can use microscope. You can use any other machine as well. And the fourth one is using available information. You have some information already, so for that purpose, the tools will be you need to have to checklists. You need to have data compilation forms as well. So these are the techniques used for collection of data, and these are the tools which will be used for doing these techniques. Okay, so approaches to if we talk about different approaches towards data collection, so there are two major approaches to gathering information about a situation, person, problem, or any phenomena or any problem you want to solve or you want to study. Sometimes information required are already available, and only you would extract those informations. And sometimes the information must be collected fresh from the field. The data might not be available, the information might not be available. So you have to do some experiments, you have to do some observations to collect those information from the field. So based on these two broad approaches to information gathering, data in scientifically are categorized into two ways. The one is known as secondary data, whereas the second group or type is known as primary data. So what is secondary data? That's the data which are previously obtained, which extracted or collected for another problem, and you can use that data for the present study. It means if you have available data somewhere in the records or whatever, so you can collect data from there and simply use that data. You are not doing any observation, you are not doing any experimentation for collection of this type of data. For example, the secondary data are include of population census data about the age and sex structure of population, right? You can obviously use some organizations records. You can take some records regarding patients or diseases from hospitals, right? So you can get some data from journals, magazines, books, or some other periodicals. You can get some data from police stations as well regarding fatalities and so on, or crimes in the town. Whereas the primary data is obtained by is collected by using or by doing some observations or experimentation, and that's obviously done by the researchers. For example, if you are we want to get some information, so for that purpose you interview community inhabitants to find their attitudes towards health services. That can be done by using questionnaires to determine the level of job satisfaction of employees in the organization, right? You can simply observe students' behavior in the class, students' performance in exams, right? So primary sources provide first-hand data, and secondary sources provide second-hand data. Right, so how do we do these data collections? Methods used are, as we discussed, we are having secondary sources. So for that purpose, obviously we'll be using some documents, some available information. Those documents can be extracted, can be obtained from government publications. You can get from any research organizations. You can get these in documents from censuses, or some personal records can be used. Whereas for primary sources, you can get data by using some observations, experimentation, or something. You can use interviews to get those informations. You can administer the questionnaires to get those informations. Whereas obviously observations can be done through participants or through non-participants, whereas interview can be structured, or it may not be unstructured. It may be unstructured, and the questionnaires could be simply mailed, or they could be collective as well. So these are the methods used for collection of data for either case, that's secondary sources or primary sources. Now, what is questionnaire? Because it plays a very important role in collection of data. The questionnaire. A questionnaire is a written list of questions, the answers to which are recorded by respondents. You would write a questionnaire, consist of different type of questions, and then you distribute those questionnaires among the respondents, and then you collect back those questionnaires with the responses of the respondents. In questionnaire, respondents read the question, interpret what is expected, and then write down their responses based on their knowledge or and unlike an interview guide in which the researcher may explain the meaning of some questions, in the case of questionnaire, there is no one to explain the meaning of questions to respondents. Therefore, questions in the questionnaire must be clear and easy to understand. So how can we administer the questionnaires? A questionnaire can be administered in different ways. You can mail the questionnaire. Okay, so this is the first one approach to collect information, is to send the questionnaires to prospective respondents by mail. Obviously, this method presupposes that you have access to their addresses, And one of the major problem with this approach is the low response rate. Collective information. One of the best way of administering questionnaires is to obtain a captive audience, such as students in a classroom. Simply distribute the questionnaires in the students among the students in the classroom, and distributing those questionnaires with people attending a function or people assembled in one place. This ensures a high response rate, as you will find very few people refusing to participate in your study, and obviously everybody will be responding to the questions in the questionnaire in front of you. Okay, let's talk about the contents. What are the main contents of a questionnaire? There should be a cover letter with the questionnaire as well. So it is important, it is necessary for a questionnaire. If you write a cover letter to accompany your questionnaire, it should very briefly introduce you and the institution you are representing. Describe in 2 or 3 lines the main objective of the study. Why do you do this study? What is the purpose of the study? You have to convey any general instructions if you have for it. Assure respondents of the anonymity of the information provided by them. Provide a contact number in case they have any questions regarding the questions in the questionnaire. Give them a return address for the questionnaires and a deadline for its return as well, so that they could send back all the questionnaires to you. And once they have done, you should thank them as well for their participation. Okay, what are the advantages of questionnaires and what are the disadvantages? So questionnaires are obviously less expensive to administer, mostly if the collective method is used.